Welcome back to Enlightening Entertainment on Supreme Master Television. Author and engineer Mr. Matthew Stein from the United States continues to show us what items to put in a 72-hour grab-and-run kit that could help us be prepared for an emergency.
I'd say the next most important thing is first aid. Anytime there's an earthquake, multiple trauma wounds, people are cut, people are wounded. So having first aid is so important, and also having first aid training. When there's a huge disaster, the doctors and the nurses, well, they're injured too. They're in trouble too. And the ones that aren't injured are hopelessly overloaded. And I always supplement the little first aid kit and the big one with a couple of other key items. This is called an ACE bandage, and it's a stretchy bandage. And it's really good for sprains. You can bind wounds with it. It's a very handy all-around thing. So I like to have a couple of these around, an ACE bandage. And this is probably one of the most important items you could have in your grab-and-run kit. And you say, well, what? It's just some tape. Well, this is cloth adhesive first aid tape. And this is such an important item because it's got multiple uses. So if you've got wounds, you can seal them like stitches with the tape.
Protection from blisters is very important for mobility.
Most people, unless they're active athletes that are always outside, after a mile down the road, they're going to start blistering up. And you can take before you blister up, when you feel yourself getting sore, what you do is you take your shoes and socks off, and you take this tape, and you take a little bit of it off like this, and you use the sticky side to scrub your ankles to get the oils off the skin and the dirt off the skin. Because if you take the tape and just stick it on your normal ankle, the tape will just come right off as soon as you walk down the road, and it does you no good. So you scrub it a little bit like that. Then you take fresh tape out and you tape all your sore spots. You put your shoes and socks back on, and you're off and running. This is one of the next most important items. Disaster happens, the lights go out. There's no power, there's no lights, and when you have a headlamp, then you turn it on, and wherever your head points, the light beam goes. So now the other item that I use daily also is this. Now this is called a colloidal silver generator. Now it turns out that silver has almost magical antibacterial and antiviral and to a lesser degree antifungal properties. So in this modern day of antibiotic-resistant bacteria, colloidal silver is something every family should have.
Mr. Stein also points out that it is good to store cash in small bills with your emergency kit, just in case it's needed. The next item is food. Some food items include energy bars, freeze-dried meals, which are light but do require water, protein-rich nuts and seeds, and dried fruit.
Now, this is called a meals ready to eat. And it's
vegetarian.
Yep, and it's a survival kind of food. To be honest with you,
veggie burger with barbecue sauce.
In some emergencies, long-term food security may be affected.
Now, here's something. These are edible plant books. In a long-term disaster, will probably make the difference between life and death for you and your family, is the ability to forage. If you know what you're doing, you can go to the nearest local swamp, you can pull up the cattails, you can eat the tubers, you can go to the yard, you can eat dandelion greens, you can pull up roots. If it's wintertime, you can go to the nearest tree and you can peel the bark and take the green layer and make a meal out of it that you can make kind of a pancake-like thing out of. So to give you an idea how important foraging is for edible fruits and berries, I had a conversation with a gentleman that teaches survival classes in Arizona, and he said at the end of the survival class they would split into groups and they would go out and they would live for 3 days off of what they could get off the land. Now the women would go out and forage for edible fruits, nuts, berries, things like that. The men would go out and focus on hunting and fishing. He said, come day 3, pretty much invariably, the starving men would go over and hungrily and sheepishly join the women who would share the bountiful edible fruits, nuts, berries, and tubers that they had foraged for.
For more information about Mr. Matthew Stein's Grab and Run Kit and other useful resources, please visit www.whentechfails.com. We thank you for your company today on Enlightening Entertainment. Please join us next Friday, August 13, for more tips on the Grab and Run Kit for emergency preparedness with survival expert Matthew Stein. He will also share his views on the 6 major trends facing humanity, which separately are each disastrous and combined could lead to a global collapse unless change is made. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television for words of wisdom. Coming up right after noteworthy news. May you and your loved ones be safe in heaven's grace.
For more details, please visit www.suprememastertv.com/EE